Yeah, with NATO, I think he will be much more stringent toward the members. He will insist that they not only curb their increase their allotments to it, or pull out. I think we're going to probably see an effort to, and he will also want to make them less aggressive in terms of offensive, being offensive in nature, as they've demonstrated in Ukraine, because it's absolutely wrecked the economy of Europe, totally wrecked it. So, and the Europeans now have come to realize that, and they're paying the consequences. And they do blame the United States for leading them in this direction in the first place. I doubt that if Biden hadn't pushed them into supporting Ukraine, they would not have gone to this extent as they did, thinking that the United States would support them all the way. Now the United States wants to pull out of it. I think Trump's going to advance that as long as just as he will pull out of aid with Ukraine. I think he will also begin to cut back on NATO. I think NATO is going to potentially fracture under a Trump administration, become much more regional in nature. And make them they need to go back to making the alliances truly more defensive rather than offensive. Pull the nuclear weapons out of Turkey and Germany, and put make and maybe even, and if the Scandinavian countries want to have their little alliances of defense, so be it. But maybe the NATO country, NATO as an alliance, is an institution that has in which time has passed it by now, and I think they will have to modify a little bit and be much more defensive and become more regionally defensive for their own purposes. You're already hearing the Europeans talking about a European defense system as opposed to a NATO in which the United States is involved. That would actually help maybe diminish wars to a point, as long as if the U.S. isn't there trying to encourage these wars. So I think these, as we have seen in Ukraine and Georgia before that. So I think we're going to be seeing some changes not only in NATO but even in the EU. Will the EU survive? I think Trump is not a big supporter of EU either, and he's not a big supporter of NATO. So there'll be far less U.S. encouragement for these institutions to survive and thrive than they have had under a Biden-Harris administration.